Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass and Move, and for today's episode we have none other than the derby in our lively Liverpool series. Now of course, very interesting game to take on, and we'll be hoping to obviously win. The first one's going to be happening in Anfield. It's 28th of October. A couple of games have gone since our last episode. So currently in 6th place, but we do have a game in hand over a couple of teams. But yeah, if we do win, we get 20 points, which moves us up to 3rd, overtaking Manchester United on the basis of our goal difference. And yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. I mean, the board expectations are Champions League. I was hoping we could somehow put in a title challenge, but we had lately struggled with some inconsistencies, and obviously, as you can see, there have been some shocks this season, like Huddersfield and Bournemouth. You'd expect them to drop off later on, but they, one's played 10 games, one played 9, and they've done quite decently so far. There's obviously also the shocks of Chelsea and Arsenal, particularly Arsenal, how poorly they're doing, 12th place. Southampton, Everton and Crystal Palace all in the relegation zone, and we can definitely help solidify Everton's spot there, so that's even more incentive for us to try and beat them here today. So let's talk about what happened since the last episode. We showed you the game against Leicester. That was a 2-1 defeat, and it hasn't been too pretty after. We managed to beat Brighton 2-0 at home. Mane scoring the both goals, so that was good to see. He's been in incredible form this season. In truth, he's been keeping out Coutinho, who's had a somewhat strange season in truth. Bayern though, 4-1 loss. You can kind of understand it. They did score a goal in the 92nd minute, Lewandowski completing a hat-trick. We opened the scoring, and I thought maybe we'd hold on to a result here. I went to 4-2-3-1 with 2 defensive midfielders instead of central midfielders, but unfortunately you couldn't keep Bayern at bay. Karius as well, as you could tell here, Loris Karius had a howler, and so did John Flanagan, who's absolutely ripped apart by Ribery as well, so that wasn't too pleasing. Some individual errors there. Unfortunately, my players couldn't bounce back against Bournemouth. There was a 2-0 loss. Jermaine Defoe and Joshua King scoring, with Bournemouth's only 2 shots of the game. We must have had about 15 to their 2. And they didn't create any clear-cut chances. We had about 3 ourselves. Unfortunately, as you can tell by some of the ratings here, my players couldn't finish off their chances, and Bournemouth just stunned us on the counter-attack. But it's something that we kind of have to deal with the tactics that we're playing. Some teams are realising that they can just beat us on the counter, and we might have to tweak our tactics a little bit, but I think I'll just keep it as is. We got a nice little result here against Manchester City. Of course, it was in the Carabao Cup, so it doesn't mean too much. But 3-1 result and a win and an advance into the quarterfinals is always welcome, of course. In terms of how the Champions League group and the Carabao Cup looks like, we'll have you a quick look for you here. So this is our Champions League group. Of course, we mentioned about how we're the group of death with Bayern and Atletico Madrid. I was hoping we could do a bit better, but we're at the halfway point of the group stages, and so far it looks like we'll be missing out and dropping into Europa League. Board expectations low, quarterfinals, so we do have to fight for that spot, because otherwise the board are going to be unhappy. But yeah, if we do manage to get some wins against Besiktas, for example, and maybe a draw against Bayern and Madrid, then maybe we'll be okay, and hope that Madrid and Bayern sort themselves out as well. We'll see how that goes. But in terms of the quarterfinal, we're in the quarterfinal. We've got a game versus Burnley away from home, so hopefully we can continue advancing. And in terms of what the other teams are, our only real competition is Manchester United. Everyone else we can somewhat handle, but obviously, cup competitions are different. It all depends on how you perform on the day. But yeah, obviously getting a trophy would be nice, and we're just 2 steps away, I suppose, from the final. And that's kind of it. FA Cup hasn't really started just yet. I feel like there's something missing that I should be covering. Maybe we could have a quick look at the tactics. So in terms of what I was talking about, I think I mentioned in the last episode that we've got variations of our tactics. We've got a 4-2-3-1, 2 defensive midfielders. We've got a 4-4-1-1 just in case. But generally we'll be playing with the 4-2-3-1. If I feel like we're too open, too caught on the counter-attack against some of the teams who are, exposing us in that manner, then maybe we should go with the 4-1-4-1, which should help us a bit. The problem is a lot of our players aren't comfortable dropping this deep, and hopefully, that doesn't cause too much damage, I suppose. But yeah, that's kind of it. I think we can just get into today's game. Lallana slowly edging back from his injury. He should be starting today because Marco is in poor form. He also just recently got over a little knock himself, so it looks like we don't really have an attacking midfielder. And I think we can play Coutinho instead in that position. Should I put... Let's leave Marco. I don't want to risk injuring Lallana even further. Klein's still out for a while, 3 to 6 weeks. Hopefully he's back soon. But otherwise, we have a somewhat fully fit squad. Once Klein comes back, we'll be moving on Flanagan without a doubt, and hopefully next season, when Vidal's loan ends, we'll have Trent and Klein as our right backs. But by the looks of it, our goalkeepers are not going to be too pleased with what I'm going to be doing to them at the end of the season. We talked about Simon being a good player for most Premier League sides, and we just held on to him until Loris Karius can become a leading Premier League player. But by the looks of it, he might not necessarily do so. He's had some sketchy form, and he's 24 years of age, so the likelihood of him improving even further is, you know, quite unlikely, I suppose. But yeah, 24, 16.5 million on 60k wages for a backup is ridiculous money, especially considering that Simon himself is on 55k and he's a first teamer. We've had a couple of issues with the players complaining about first team football, so just like I mentioned, a lot of people are expecting their squad status before I even came to the club. A lot of them were key players. I think out of that front four, 8 players were considered key players or first team players. That's just such an unbalanced squad to have, because obviously someone's always going to be complaining about game time. But I think we can go ahead and kick off, and we can talk more about, you know, who's starting and whatnot once the players warm up. But yeah, Derby Day, it doesn't really get much bigger than this. In terms of the league, it's not that big. Everton are in the relegation zone, and we want to try and condemn them to that position. But for some reason, whenever I play Football Manager, this year at least, Everton are always in horrible form. But anyways, they're going with a 4-2-3-1, I suppose, themselves, but a bit more defensive. 2 DMs, and they're playing with midfielders instead of, you know, high wingers. Rooney in the attacking midfield spot, Klaassen as well as a striker. Quite an interesting team. Sigurdsson pushed out wide. Morales in his sort of comfortable position. Besic, Schneiderlin should be quite a decent midfield there. And it looks like they've got someone new in the left back spot there. Yeah, they've only just got him for free. That's a bit of a weird signing, I suppose. But maybe they just needed the numbers. Baines is there as well, so that's a bit unusual. But either way, in terms of our team, Simon, since it's a league game, we always show up with Simon. Karius is just a cup competition player. Barter, Wallace as our centre-backs. They're just performing too good to let Matip come in, or anyone else really. Vidal's getting a little nod in the right back spot after John Flanagan's horrible game against Bayern. Robertson also getting a bit of a shout because Moreno has started to underperform. Some of the players are starting to underperform. You know, once our team sort of the inconsistency started, so did the form, and so we've had to, you know, sort of chop and change some things to try and get the best out of our players. Chan and Jorginho in midfield, that's a decent enough team. Henderson's had a couple of shouts in midfield, but he hasn't really performed up to our standards. Maybe we might have to consider changing him to a ball-winning midfielder instead. He might be a bit uncomfortable with the deep line playmaker role, and just change Chan into a deep line playmaker himself too. In terms of attacking midfield, we've got Coutinho, like we mentioned, Lallana and Marco both injured. Oxlade-Chamberlain getting a shout on the right wing spot. Salah sort of started to drop off a bit despite his incredible season, but I think, you know, it's time to give Oxlade-Chamberlain a couple of minutes basically, because he hasn't really had an opportunity to do anything. He's complaining about game time as well. Mane, as always, top goal scorer as well, and hopefully he can continue that today. Firmino leading the line for us with Sturridge picking up another injury, but he's on the bench for us, and he's seriously testing my limit in terms of, you know, trying to move him on possibly, because if he's going to keep getting injured, there's no real need to have someone so injury prone in your team. But anyways, favourites for today's game, so I'm hoping we continue on the back of the last match performance and give the fans a result that they want to see. Just want to quickly check some tactics. We want Chamberlain to be playing in his comfortable role as a winger. Chan, are you man marking? Yep, they're marking specific positions, which is this position here, the attacking midfield 1. Don't have to worry about players playing there, and hopefully we can keep Rooney out of the game in that sense. But anyways, I think it's time for kickoff, so let's go. And hopefully a good game. And by that I mean a 4-0 destruction of Everton. Anyways, it's time to kick off, and Everton get themselves going. And immediately we put the pressure on them, and that's good to see. Alright then, so the shots count just sort of bounced there for a second, a bit unusual, but it's good to see that we're having a decent amount of shots in the early stages. Everton playing with a defensive, not just a defensive formation, but defensive tactics as well. If you ever want to know whether you're being defensive or attacking, you can actually have a look at your own formation. It'll tell you. So let's go here. I've nicknamed my formation, that's why I can't show. That's a bit unfortunate. But anyways, Coleman can set his team on the counter-attack. And can we shut Klassen down before he can get his players forward? Apparently not. Decent ball across to Sigurdsson, and that's one hell of a ball, to be honest. And he's gone back to Morales. That's a save and a half from Simon, but you can't do it twice. He's let down by his defenders on both occasions, and Everton are the ones who've opened the scoring. It's just poor defending on all accounts. Not only is Robertson not really going across the Klassen or stopping him, no one's really paying attention to the other side. Vidal's playing as a centre-back instead, and he can't come across quick enough to shut down Sigurdsson. And even if Sigurdsson wanted to play Rooney in, he could have, but he went for the smarter ball, which is Morales. And his first shot is well saved by Simon, but Robertson's not quick enough to react, and Morales can have a second go. And a bit fortunate, I suppose, but that's what you get when your players aren't so-called top defenders, I suppose. But anyways, Everton wants more on the ball, and it looks like this game could get ugly quickly, and we might have to be careful about this getting caught on the counter business. Sigurdsson, Jorginho cuts out the attack, finds Vidal eventually, and Vidal just lumps it forward to Chamberlain. Can he put a good ball into the box? Winger, Firmino. He's free for the volley, and that's a beautiful one. I thought he was going to go for a header and just sort of just put it over the bar as they normally do, but he decides to go for the volley. He's quite free, to be fair. I mean, there were players around him, but no one specifically putting in a leg or anything. And that was one hell of a goal, to be fair. Good delivery from Chamberlain as well. This is why I love wingers, to be honest. Much better at crossing than inside forwards. And they help spread the play as much as possible. I'd love to move to wingers eventually, but at the moment we've got a ton of inside forwards. So we'll be working with what we've got until we can build away from that tactic. But yeah, let's quickly change back to Everton. Yeah, still playing on the defensive. Maybe we can turn this result around completely with this set piece. Coutinho with the delivery, Mane is free, and it's just over. And I think that's as clear-cut a chance as it gets, to be fair. And really start to dominate Everton here, but it won't matter if they catch us on the break just as much as Bournemouth have. Sadio Mane picking up a bit of a knock, which is not good to see. Coutinho is his positional rival, I suppose, and he's already playing. Coutinho's free though. Chamberlain's free. What is going on, you guys? That is poor finishing by all accounts. We've had 11 shots and just one on target, and that is with us playing the team the tactic instruction, team instruction I think it is, of work the ball into the box. And we're playing, of course, inside forwards and complete forwards who tend to have a bunch of shots from outside the box. That's exactly why I played that instruction in the first place. But anyways, we will have to decide to do something here. I think telling the players off is valid. I think morale-wise they're not doing too good, to be fair, but cannot excuse drawing or even losing against Everton, who are in the relegation zone, and we're trying to get back into the Champions League spot. If we do so today, we're still in the Europa League spots, and then we just start to decline in terms of how we're performing, isn't it? Let's go with the ability one, and I think take off Mane. You know what? I'm actually going to bring Chamberlain across as an inside forward on the other side. He's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but he should be able to do the job. Bring on Salah, and change that role back to an inside forward. Alright then. Let's end that. Come on, Salah. Understand that you've been dropped and that you have to up the ante again and grab a winning goal here. Coutinho. Alright, well that's the end of that apparently. We're playing with a very high pressure system, and yet it's Everton who have the bigger amount of fouls. Got more possession, to be fair. We might have to be a bit smarter with how we play here. I'm going to go into attacking, which I should have done earlier, to be fair. But let's see if we can make any any significant substitutions. There's Henderson on the bench here. no one necessarily really needs to come off. I think Robertson maybe has had a horrible game, but normally I wouldn't be willing to substitute a defender when we need a winner, but complete wingbacks are so important in this tactic that it could possibly change in our favour, especially because I think he's got poor ratings since he was at error for the goal that we conceded. Everton with a set piece. Please do not tell me to give away penalty. This is what it feels like. Alright, can we counter? Salah, lead the way. Come on, we can heavily outnumber them. Chamberlain, decent ball in for Coutinho. He's also got, I think, Salah, that should be. But anyways, he goes in by himself. He just has to put a good ball into the box for Firmino, I think. Ooh, and that's a decent one. Hits. Oh, that is smart play by Salah. Completely and utterly unselfish by the Egyptian there. Did not have to play Chamberlain in, but he did just to make sure that the result was safe. We go back into control to try and keep the match within limits, but as you can see, Everton have hardly done anything since they've scored, and that's down to the method that we play with. Coutinho though, just went solo and put decent cross in, but I guess, you know, just hit the crossbar, or the post rather. Pickford couldn't do anything. Salah could have shot himself, but instead he finds Chamberlain, and from a counter-attack that looked like it was nothing was going to happen from it, we managed to get our second and overturn the result completely. So Coutinho's tired. Let's bring on Marco, and I think that's our last change. So could possibly take off FM18 to avoid going a man down. I think I'd rather do that. Let's bring on Henderson as a ball-winning midfielder and see if he'll up his performances by any chance. But Henderson and Chan are both a type of player that could pretty much do any midfield role that you would ask of them. Their stats are sort of all over the place. They have very decent stats for every role, and so it makes it a little bit not uncomfortable, it makes it a little bit difficult to actually select a role for them, because you think, oh, they can be a deep line playmaker, oh, but they can also be a ball-winning midfielder, and both those roles are quite different from each other, but it's just a credit to them that they're such, I suppose, complete midfielders. But you don't want someone who's a jack of all trades and, you know, like a master of none, as the saying goes. Having said that, a win is a win. Let it be a bit uncomfortable against Everton, but given our inconsistent form, our morale, and the way we reacted, I think it's fair to say the boys did a good job of winning this tough game. Alright then, so we might have just helped end Everton's season, I suppose. We could at least confidently say that they won't be in the Europa League spots that they so crave desperately. And either way, it's just good to get one over your rivals and help yourselves with your own targets. So 20 points. Bournemouth are yet to play those, so we do have to keep an eye on that. They've had an incredible season, and just 5 points away from Manchester City, so it's good to say. To be honest, 6 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses is a very decent start. And if Tottenham and City didn't match our starts, then of course who would be first? I mean, that goes without saying. They've just managed better starts than ourselves. City have been absolutely incredible in the game. I think the latest update helps them have an incredible season as well. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Manchester United here. Because I've played in the Premier League in the beta, and Manchester City never performed this well. So I think they sort of overpowered them, I guess. But either way, goal difference of 23 within 10 games is just incredible, and that's a credit to them. I mean, the one loss was against Newcastle, that's a bit weird. Draw against Chelsea is fair enough. Very decent result, but look at those wins: 4-0, 4-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-1, 3-1, 5-1 and 3-1. But yeah, they've just faced Manchester United, Tottenham and Chelsea. I think in comparison to us, that sounds about right with us as well. We faced Arsenal, we beat Arsenal. Drew against United and Tottenham, that sounds about right. Yeah, so we faced 3 teams each in terms of the difficult ones, I suppose, but yeah. There you go though. I think in terms of when we're back, we always show a game per month, so we show you the game, October's game, I suppose, which was the Everton match, and well, not September, sorry, that would be going backwards. In November instead, we've got a couple of them. We've got Bayern in the Champions League, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Besiktas, Huddersfield, Chelsea. So I think I will show you that Chelsea game. It will be a tough one, of course. Hopefully by then we've beaten Southampton, Crystal Palace and Huddersfield.
Huddersfield, we might show you that game instead because they're really close to us and we can kind of send them back down the table and try and obviously end their threat. And we're away from home as well, so it's going to be a bit tough. If they end up beating us, then suddenly they're in the Champions League spots and we're not. So we do have to be careful. It'll be either Huddersfield or Chelsea. Chelsea, the more traditionally bigger game. But hopefully, either way, whichever game we show you, by then, hopefully we're in the Champions League knockout stages. We have 3 more games left, Bayern and Besiktas though. We face Bayern first. If we can get a win at home, that'd be incredible. Even a draw would be okay. Beat Besiktas and get a result against Madrid as well, and we might just about sneak in and hope that Bayern and Madrid sort of cancel each other out, and that way we sneak into the knockout stages. But anyways, I think that'll be all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more Daily Football Manager 2018 content. And as always guys, thank you all very much for watching.